Good afternoon and welcome to the 2026 Trucking Mastery Series hosted by Let's Truck and Truckstop.com. I'm Ashley with Truckstop, and I truly am really thrilled to be part of this year's 2026 Mastery Series. I do have a deep passion for the industry, especially on carriers. I've been in logistics honestly since high school, and today, being part of the Truckstop.com family, I'm proud to support the technology that really helps drive carriers operate a smarter, safer, and more profitability. This series is built on a shared mission brought to life by two incredible leaders in the industry. First off, Kevin Rutherford, the heart behind Let's Truck. He spent decades helping carriers understand the business side of trucking. His mission has always been to equip owner operators with real knowledge, financial literacy, operational efficiency, and long term business success. Kevin really has changed the lives of thousands of carriers by giving them the tools and confidence to take control of their business, not just their truck. And from the truck stop side, Scott Mosgrip, our founder, he's been a champion for carriers since the very beginning. He's built truckstop.com on a simple belief carriers deserve transparency, fairness, and technology that drives the levels of playing field. And his vision has helped reshape how freight moves in this country and continues to drive that innovation that protects you all and helps you guys grow. So before we begin, I do want to introduce our two hosts. We have Kevin Rutherford with Let's Truck, again, longtime coach, educator, and trusted voice for drivers looking to take ownership of both their numbers and their future. And alongside him, Brent Hutto with Truckstop.com. He is an expert on the freight markets, brokers and carrier behaviors, and really what drives profitability in the industry. They are an incredible duo, and I'm really thrilled to be participating in this year's series with both of them. I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to Brent to go ahead and jump into the series.
Yeah, well, thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it. And thank you for everyone for joining us today. It's man, it is always a pleasure when I get to spend time with the OG, Kevin Rutherford, when it comes to helping owner operators in small fleets really understand their business and understand their operations. So this is the second part of a series that we started last year called Trucking Mastery. This is Kevin's title in this thing, and really that's really the idea behind all this. You just want to be, I mean, we all want to be great at what we do. And so the idea of trucking mastery, I love the title, love the title. Last year's series that we did was called Navigating the Road to Success. And boy, did we have a great time talking about all the things you need to do to create success when you decide to launch your operation. So this year's series is called Building a Profitable Business That Lasts, because anything that is profitable should last. And so the idea of what are the starts and stops in that. So we're going to talk all the way through that. It's a 6-part series that we're going to bring to you guys, all for free, bringing it to you so you can get the information. The first webinar we're going to talk about today is From Survival to Strategy. The second is Know Your Numbers or Lose Money. Number 3 is Market Cycles and Timing the Freight. Number 4 is Smart Freight Strategy. Number 5, Relationships. Kevin talking, and I talk about that almost every Monday. Relationships that drive revenue. And number 6, Scaling without failing. So super great topics. I know Kevin has spent a lot of time developing um, this entire series. And so, Kevin, super excited to kick this thing off with you today. As always, man, it's your heart and my heart to want to see owner operators and small fleets succeed at what they try. And boy, there's a lot of ways and traps that you can fail at, but we want to be a part of the solution in them making the right decisions to succeed. So before we get into the very first screen or the very first slide on this thing and talk about what's the first operational thing you want to do, talk a little bit about the idea of building a profitable business that lasts, and then we'll jump into survival to strategy.
Got it. All right. So I think we're going to hold on. What's supposed to
Hey,
happen?
by the way, tribe and everyone out there that's a part of this is live. So we're not, this
Very
is
live.
recorded. This is straight up live. So if Kevin screws up or I screw up, guess what? That's just life. So, all right, KR, kick it off. Tell us about building a profitable business that lasts. And then we're going to jump into the first topic, From Survival to Strategy.
Yeah, it's live and it's not AI. Promise.
Yeah.
The real thing. Um, You know, I have a whole bunch of tools. Talk about building a business that
Right.
survives. The opposite of that, for a lot of people, would think failure and going out of business.
Right.
I think
Right. Right.
there's a worse destiny than that, and that is building a job, not a business.
Oh, yeah. Oh, nobody
And
likes a job. Yeah.
we see a lot of this. People take the risk, they spend the
Yep.
money, they do the extra work, and they
Right.
have very little control over their own destiny.
Yep.
And in essence, they've built a job and not a
Yep.
business.
Yep.
So what we're going to be talking about is building a business that lasts,
Yep.
potentially building a business that can last to the next generation.
Oh,
So
even better.
building generational businesses. So that's where we're going to start. I had an excellent call on my show yesterday that was the perfect call for this webinar. I almost
Right.
wanted to bring the guy on with me. So I have a whole slew of tools to help evaluate if somebody's ready to start this business or not.
Right.
I could also use those tools to evaluate somebody that's already in business to see what could we be doing better.
Right.
The interesting thing is I could use every one of those tools and sometimes still miss something. And on the other end of the spectrum, I had a call yesterday. I didn't have to use a single one of those tools. In a short conversation, I told the guy, "You have almost no chance of failing."
Oh, wow.
This was a case where I was able to tell that this guy was the absolute. I almost can't think of a better case to start off and succeed. And
Right.
he was shocked that I told him that.
Oh, wow. I'm sure.
He had just found Let's Truck and myself on TikTok a week or so ago, started listening to the show, heard me talk other people out of it, say, look, you're not ready
Right.
yet. He said, I could have swore you were going to shoot me down from the very beginning, and you're not. And here's what it came down to. It came down to one thing, and I haven't figured out a good way to measure this yet, other than my own intuition. And here's what it was. We could have talked about financial, we could have talked about knowledge of the industry, we could have talked about his driving experience. He didn't have much driving
Right.
experience, not
Right.
much at all. And
Right.
that's why he thought, and here's what it really came down to. If I had to pick one factor that is the most powerful on whether you're going to succeed or fail at this, it's mindset,
Oh,
nothing
it
else.
always is.
It is
Absolutely.
just pure mindset. And this guy had the mindset
Yeah.
that there's just no way he's going to fail. And
Yeah.
then we did go after that, after I kind of said, look, you're not going to fail. You've got the right mindset. At one point, he told me, look, I will do whatever you tell me I need to do to make this work.
The perfect student.
It really is. On the other hand, and he doesn't have a lot of driving experience. That's why he
Right.
wasn't confident.
Right.
On the other hand, I get 3 million accident free, drivers, 3 million accident free miles. And I'm the first one to tell them, you probably should never do this. And they get really pissed off because they are a
Sure.
good driver. They have tons of
Right.
experience,
Right.
but they tend to the opposite of his mindset, which was I'll do anything to make this work.
Right.
The opposite mindset that I hear all the time is an entitlement mindset.
Right.
Well, I'm going
Oh,
to
yeah.
buy this truck
Right.
because that's the truck I've always wanted. I'm tired of driving these fleet trucks that I've been driving for
Right.
20 years. I want to drive my truck.
Right.
Okay, that's not a good way to start. And
Right.
and when I do this, I'm not pulling for anything less than $3 a mile. That's just the way
Right.
it's gonna.
Right.
They're not gonna make it
You've already set
unless we
yourself up for
can
failure. Yeah.
change that mindset. And
Right.
Brent, humans, how easy it is to change somebody's mindset.
It's the hardest thing, the absolute hardest thing to do, KR. So I love that you want that mindset's everything, but there's a trap that starts when they start their business. And that's the first slide you started with. Let's talk about the survival trap. And because I know this, just a little precursor there, everybody watching. The second one is your mindset. So let's talk about the survival trap right now, and then we'll get right into mindset.
Yeah, and I moved that one up at the last minute and talked about it first because I wanted to make sure we knew. Because really, what we're explaining
Okay.
here on the survival trap, most carriers operate in reaction mode.
Right.
They
Yep.
do that because they have the wrong mindset.
Right.
They don't
Yep.
have, and
Yep.
then the
Fair
next
enough.
one,
Fair
urgency
enough.
replaces planning.
Yep.
Again,
Yep.
it's this, and I'll go back to that entitlement mentality. Well, I don't need to plan. I've been doing this for 25 years. No, you haven't. You've been driving a truck for 25 years as an employee. You're now attempting to run a business.
Right. Right.
Businesses require planning
Right.
and not reaction.
Right.
One of my favorite books, if anybody's looking for a book recommendation, I love reading. I love giving good book recommendations. The Seven Habits. Seven
Right.
Habits
Oh,
of Highly
fantastic book for
Effective
sure.
People.
You've talked about it many
And
times. Yeah.
habit number one is be proactive,
Yeah.
not reactive. That
Yeah.
is the single most critical habit to develop in business is to be proactive, not reactive.
Right.
That takes
Right.
care of the next one. Urgency replaces planning. If you
Right.
have planning, you don't need to do things urgently. We don't need to be in a hurry. We have a plan, we can work the plan. The last bullet point up here is
Yeah.
probably the hardest to overcome. We we have almost an addiction to busy work,
Yep. Sure do.
and if we feel like, and we even brag about it. Oh, I only get 5 hours of sleep because I'm working 80 hours a week. And but is that work effective?
Right. Right.
Are
Right.
you getting things done that matter? We're going to talk a little later, I think, on one of the screens about goals.
Right.
And that's how you avoid this kind of trap of just busy work.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I love your action point down here. It says, kind of tell yourself, really be honest with yourself. When was the last time you took a load that really didn't fit with your business? And that's super important. I love why you say be honest with yourself, because I mean, the one person who is the common in all of your problems or all of your good things that happen is you. It's always me. It's always I'm the common denominator. So talk a little bit about that. Then let's swap over to talk another second about mindset. Then we'll go to the third slide.
All right, so let's talk about that. Um, be your own worst critic.
Right.
Find
Yeah.
what really works for you and
Right.
what doesn't work for
Right.
you, and that takes that planning, mindful thought. No matter, this may be one of the reasons why the more experienced drivers actually struggle more. Sometimes I
Right.
think they're overconfident. Well, I know this industry. I've delivered 10,000 loads.
Right.
But if you haven't done it as a business, it's a whole new game. And sometimes just not being willing to say, I need to plan, I need to learn, I need to research, I need to ask
Right.
good questions, and then I need to apply it to my business.
Right.
So
Yeah.
back to mindset and getting more specific about some of the mindsets.
Right.
Um, this one, you guys at truckstop.com have had taught me over the years a lot of this with real data.
Right.
I knew drivers were thinking load to load. We can see
Right.
it in your data. We know
Right.
how they
Oh, for
use the
sure.
load board, and this mindset leads to the other really dangerous mindset, and this is where I start losing people. The idea that you have this bottom number about rate and you're never going to haul for less than that. That
Right.
is a load to load mentality, and it doesn't work the way you think it works. Well, I'm not pulling that garbage freight for whatever reason. I'm not going to pull freight to lose money is one of their first. So if they know, many times they don't know what their true cost per mile is. If
Right.
they know it, let's just say it's $1.80. And their idea is, look, well, there's no way I would ever pull less than $1.80 because I would be losing money. So in most cases, Brent, what are you going to do if you're in a lane and that's what the lane's paying and you refuse to take it? You're going to
Well,
deadhead, right?
you're either gonna dead haul or you're gonna sit and continue to accumulate expense.
Yes, because it costs money to sit. And if a lane is averaging 210 a mile today, what's the odds that it's going to be 250 a mile tomorrow?
Not very high.
Yeah, just not at all.
Yeah,
So there's this idea, but they take the thought one step further. And when I
right,
talk about this, they actually blame me. Well, if you're the one out there pulling that cheap freight, then you're the problem. Well,
right.
that's not how business works, though.
Nope.
It's supply and demand. We
Yep,
can't affect supply and demand. There's a certain number of trucks out there today, and there's a certain amount of freight. That's what's going to determine the
yep,
rates.
yep.
That is the vast majority of the rate. If I made a mistake and got myself into a lane where the freight coming out is really low paying, take the freight.
Right.
Don't go empty.
Yep.
Empty is the ultimate losing strategy.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean you just pull the lowest freight just because it's there. So
No.
we'll talk about building your business in a way that you don't have to default to what's available on the load board.
Yeah,
So
for sure,
rather
for
than
sure.
thinking load to load,
Mhm.
we want to think quarter to quarter. We can look at our numbers month to month and learn from it, but quarter to quarter is a better place. And what I can tell people over and over and over is the people who have the business mindset that doesn't try to blame everybody else. Well, the rates are too low because the broker did this or the carrier did that, or it's the mega carriers, or the people who realize this is a business, the freight's out there, it's your responsibility to go find it, that will pull for rates that they're not wild about sometimes, but they
Right.
understand that it resets them. When we track those people, they always do better. Always.
Right.
Not even close. Their
Right.
net overall profit is always higher.
Yeah.
So
KR, go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
Well, I think the thing to do is, and this kind of goes to the bottom bullet point. I want to make a point really quick. And the action item here is like choose an upcoming decision and commit to a 90-day view instead of right now. In other words, think from a strategy standpoint. And here's a part of the strategy when you were talking about if you're in a lane and the rates aren't what you want them to be, but they're not going to change anytime soon. So you're either going to sit there and accumulate more debt. In other words, you got to pay for the truck and all your expenses, or you're going to have the strategy of pivoting quickly out of a situation that's not the most advantageous and getting to one that's advantageous. But to your point, that's a strategy that you say, here's what I need to make a decision right now in. This is my strategy. I'm sticking to my strategy and I'm going to do it. I love the idea of like try it for 90 days and see how it works and see how much more profits you make by adopting that strategy. Because our next part of our thing in this from survival to strategy is what does strategy look like? Because you say strategy replaces stress. So the next slide is what does strategy look like? But tell us what you mean by how does strategy replace stress? That's a
So
great start for this.
one of the things we see a lot is when we're stressed, it is one of two things really causes a lot of stress. One is the mismatch between what you expect
Right.
and reality.
Yep.
it- when you can't square your thinking with the reality of how things work, you will be stressed all the time.
Right.
This is the entitlement mentality. This is saying, I bought a truck. I'm the one that moves the freight. I do all the work, not the broker, not this. I do all the work. I should get the pay. I should get the, I am entitled. That kind of thinking will leave you stressed all the time
All the time.
because it doesn't align with how the business works.
Right.
You can think it all you want. You can yell that it's not fair. You can do all that stuff. It
Right.
doesn't change the reality. So you've got to understand what the reality is and then develop strategies that work with that reality, not fight against it. Here's the
Yeah.
next thing that
KR,
causes stress.
I
Go ahead.
gotta say this. KR, I gotta
Sure.
say this. The victim mentality doesn't work in business because no one
Absolutely.
cares. No one
Yep.
cares. No one cares that you got a problem or there's a problem or you see it a certain way. No one cares. So the victim mentality, just put it out of your brain.
You know, Brent, I love the way you said that it doesn't work in business because it doesn't. But does it ever work?
No, no, not at all. Not
No,
ever.
it really doesn't. It's just not a good place to be. Now, the
Well,
next
that
thing that'll cause a
yeah,
lot of stress is not knowing what to do next.
right. Yep, yep,
We're not
yep,
knowing what to do.
yep.
That is very stressful, and your brain will go around in circles.
Crazy circles. Mhm.
When we start writing goals, when we have a clear goal or multiple goals, the
Right.
goal guides our decisions.
Yep, yep, yep. And that's on your
Decisions
action item on the
become
bottom here. What non-negotiable goal is gonna are you gonna apply to a load decision that you're gonna do no matter what? I think that's super smart.
this starts to change that mindset. The
Right,
action items are designed to get you out of the entitlement victim mindset and into the business mindset.
right.
This
And
doesn't mean
yeah,
we it's the opposite of just, well, I'm going to do whatever. It's
right.
clear goals on what we're going to do, and we've thought them through. And here's another thing: goals have got to be written down.
Oh,
I know
goodness. Oh, the best thing I ever did in my life.
how many, and I did it at times. I'm like, oh, look, I can remember a lot of stuff. I don't need to write this down.
No, write
Goals
them
need
down,
to be
man.
written down.
Write them down.
Yeah, write them down.
One of the
And
best things you can
now,
do is write 1 year goals down and write 5 year goals. So 1 year
but
goals, and by the way, every year leave yourself the flexibility to change them because your point of view in January is one thing. In December of the same year, it might be different. But if you don't write goals down, as my old friend Mike Riley used to say, you can't hit a goal you don't have, and writing them down means you have them.
I have a well, that story takes too long. I love that idea, but
Yeah.
we don't have the kind of time for me to tell long stories today. So
All right.
uh,
Well, look, I love your
you
point
are
about rule. Yeah, I love your point
correct on
about
that.
rules.
I want to
Go.
give an
Sorry.
example that we've
Do it.
already talked about.
Do it.
Let's say I do grab a load going into Denver because the load going in paid so well, which a lot of times
Right.
it will because
Yep.
we know
Yep.
Denver's kind of one of those dead spots.
Right.
I get there and I didn't realize how bad it was going to be. So
Right.
now there's freight, and maybe it's paying a buck 60 a mile. It's bad stuff. It's cheap rates, but I have a goal, and my goal, and here's a good goal for business. I want my net profit to be as high as I can possibly get it. Is
Of
that a good
course.
strategy for business? It's kind of why we're doing this.
Yeah.
So if I know that that is my goal, I have a decision to make. Do I take the cheap freight and keep moving? Or do I sit, wait for tomorrow, or do I deadhead? Now we
Right.
have a clear goal to measure that against. If I sit till tomorrow and the rate doesn't go up, did
Right.
I lose profit? Sure. I have a whole
Absolutely. You
day
did.
of no revenue.
Yep.
If I deadhead 200 miles even to get to a better load, was that the most profitable way to do this?
Could be.
Could be, might
Could be.
not be, but now we have a measuring stick. If we
Hmm.
don't have that goal, we operate on emotion. And here's the emotion
Yep.
that will win every time. Screw that broker. I am not pulling his cheap $1.80 freight. I'm out of here.
Right. Right. Yep.
That's an emotional response.
Yep.
And we justify it, and we can justify ourselves right out of business.
Yeah,
Have
well, I
a
love your
goal.
whole point about rules replacing emotion, but what helps you understand that the rules you put in place helps you? And that's really our next topic, which is data changes everything because it helps you take the emotion out of it and see what do the numbers look like. Math doesn't lie. So the idea of data, the data is just a bunch of math, right? So what's the condition? What do I need? What decision do I need to make given the information that I have? All right. So I love your idea of taking the emotion out of it. And how do you take the emotion out of it? Well, with data right in front of your face. How do you do that? So talk a little bit about how data changes everything and give some examples on that because this is something you and I talk about a lot about the data's there. We live in a data rich world. If you're not using it, you are losing opportunity.
Well, here's the sad part. We could talk about all the data that's at Truckstop, and we're going to. The
Yep.
problem is the most important data is the one that they're not even bothering to collect and look at, which is their own profit and loss statement.
Right. Right. Right.
So many single truck and small carriers have no accounting system that they can look at that's up to date. We mentioned earlier, let's try something for 90 days and see how it
Right.
works.
Right.
Well, the scorecard on whether it worked or not is your profit and loss statement.
Right.
If up until now I've been taking home 85 cents, on every mile I run, net
Right.
profit left over. We could look at that and go, well, yeah, that's okay. Could it be better? What could I do to improve that number? Let's pick a strategy. Let's say our strategy is going to be, we tend to deadhead if the rate isn't exactly what we want, or we tend to try to wait a day. Let's
Right.
not do that. For 90 days, let's do the opposite. When we get somewhere, we have to find a load and we can't sit. Just try that for 90 days, no matter how wrong it feels or bad it might feel to you. Try it. Now we can look back at the profit and loss and go, okay, did this get me closer to my goal, more profit, or did it move me farther away from my goal, less profit?
Right.
And either one could happen. I've made all kinds of stupid decisions over time that I thought was going to help me, and it didn't. It hurt. Had I not measured those things, I might not even realize it was hurting.
Right. Right, for sure. So I love your point on here is that there's so much data in the environment today, and the best thing is the single truck owner operator. We're going to talk a little bit about the tools in a minute on this on our next slide, but the idea that there's so much data out there, you can make informed decisions. Look, there's nothing wrong with gut. If it feels bad, understand why it feels bad because your gut
It-
tells you that that's part of learning. That's from the limbic region of the brain. It tells you from experience, I know this. But is the data confirming it? And if the data
here-
confirms it, then you need to make a different decision because I love the idea data reveals patterns and trends beat guesses. I love that statement you put on here.
Here's another one, another way to use this idea that it's a way to change your mindset by using the data. This idea
Mhm.
that I'm never going to pull a load for less than X.
Right,
It's a bad thought process. But let's try an experiment. If that's the case, if your drop dead rate is $2 a mile, you'd be shocked at how many people have that mindset and yet they don't bother to look at the data
right,
with what's going on where they're going.
right,
They say, "Oh no, look, I just booked a load for 315 a mile." Okay, is it going to Miami or Seattle or Denver because we might have a problem here?
right. Yep,
Or a
yep,
hundred other places we
yep,
could name.
yep.
You so you have the rule, you created this rule. You're not even using the tools to help you with that. You're taking one load at a time. We go back to this load to load, and you
Right,
got yourself into a place where there's no way you're going to get your $3 a mile. Doesn't
right,
exist. It's never existed. It's not going to exist next week. And yet you're stuck and now you're pissed off at everybody else. Now you're
right,
going to deadhead. So there's another way. For the next 90 days, make sure you always check a lane or two ahead. Okay, I like this load going to Dallas. What's the rate coming out of Dallas this week?
right.
If I get out of Dallas, where's the best place to go? Well, Dallas to LA is looking really good this week if we look at the data. And is all that data available at
Oh my
Truckstop?
gosh. It's
I,
hundreds and hundreds of thousands of loads every day. Millions and millions of examples of rate postings, in other words, on every single lane, in every OD pair or city to city, how much density, how much freight's in that one lane, what your negotiation leverage is. Is it good? Is it bad? What type of freight is it? I mean, there's so much data there. And then understanding the market conditions, because I know we're going to talk about tools that support strategy, because remember, what does strategy look like? That was slide number 3. And then what's your mindset look at when it comes to setting that strategy in your mind and how you're going to behave? You've been talking about that all the way through, that the data is there, the opportunity is there. If you don't take advantage of it, you might be missing out on 10, 20, 30 cents extra a mile because guess what? You knew last week you took that for 220, but right now, and you and I talked about this just this past Monday, the average rate in the market is $2.51 right now.
yeah,
You could be
yeah.
missing out on 20 or 30 cents. And last time I checked, that's profit in your pocket. So let's talk about so you talked about strategy and you talked about tools that support strategy. So our next slide is tools that support strategy. in this and talk about how the data implemented in those tools, Kevin, how you've seen this evolve to help the owner operator.
Before I do that, I have a challenge,
Yeah, man, bring it.
and I have a prediction.
Okay.
I think less than 5% of the people listening to me right now will even entertain this idea for more than 30 seconds. Most people are going to go, oh, screw that. I'm not doing that. I'm sure of it. But I promise you this, if there's one person here who does it, it's going to leapfrog them way ahead. This is going to
Okay.
sound like a crazy idea. You guys might even
What?
want to think about a marketing concept around this. I want somebody for 30 days. We don't even have to do this for 90.
All right.
Because if you do this right, it's probably going to stick. For the next 30 days, I want somebody to spend as much time on Truckstop as they do on their favorite social media platform.
You'd be an expert.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Think
You
about
know,
all the doom scrolling people do over and over and over and over.
right.
Take that time and spend that much time scrolling Truckstop's tools.
Well, you know who gets paid the most? People that are experts. All look,
Absolutely.
if you want to see, but you know not why athletes, the professional athletes are paid so well? They're the best at what they do. So be the
Right.
best at what you do. And here's the thing with that that gets me. I think everybody wants to feel like they're succeeding. And in order to do that, you've got to make certain sacrifices to educate yourself, to sharpen the tool, to sharpen your ability all the time. Really, it's just studying the marketplace. And when you do that, that's one of the absolute best things you can do. And you were talking about tools that support that strategy. Take this 30 days. This challenge from Kevin is a great idea. Take 30 days. And I promise you, after 30 days, you'll probably do 60 or you'll probably do
Exactly.
90 because
Right.
you're going to start to see results as you didn't get before. Because in order to get
Yeah.
something to accomplish something new, you got to try something new.
And I get it. Technology can be somewhat intimidating, although we all figure out how to
Right.
doom scroll our favorite site pretty quickly.
Sure we
Um,
do.
and we get really good at it. If I were new to this, and if
Right.
I'm the one crazy guy listening right now that says, hey, I think I'm going to try that, but I don't
Right.
even know where to start. Can I call somebody at truckstop.com and say, I really want to learn how to use these tools? And is there somebody there that's going to help me?
Absolutely. You can call anybody from customer support. We've even got you can even move up and talk to somebody who'll coach you through things. We have tons of online education on how to use the products. For sure. There's all I mean, this is Truckstop's mission is to help every owner operator create as much success as they possibly want using the tools that Truckstop affordably supplies to the owner operator. This is why Truckstop has always kept a very affordable price in the marketplace because Scott Mosgrip and Ashley said this in the beginning, and I'm so glad Ashley's back on the team with Truckstop because she's such a great leader in the market. We're dedicated to helping owner operators find success, and we want to be the assist to that, not any hindrance. That's why Truckstop is always so affordable. So the idea behind that is that it's right there in front of you. It's up to you to go take advantage of it. And I promise you this, if remember, this is a competitive marketplace. There's hundreds of thousands of you competing in the same arena. And then there's people that have 100 trucks, 500 trucks, 1,000 trucks that are going to compete with you as well in a lane. They have all this data. It's like you don't, what's the old saying, Kevin? Don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Truck stop is a gun for you in the marketplace to go get to be able to compete fairly with all the players in the market. So absolutely, you should be
Right.
using these tools mostly and most importantly, first and foremost, it's not just the rate, it's understanding the pressure in the market and where are you? Is it favorable for you to negotiate? Is it not favorable for you to negotiate? If you know that first, you go into the actual tool itself, you'll have great results.
I'll add to that. Truck stop isn't just a gun; it's a Patriot missile. It, it,
That's a
it,
good way to put it.
it's that much more
Yeah,
powerful
yeah,
than not having
yeah.
the tools in the system.
Right.
Have you ever watched the TV show The Prophet?
Oh yeah, I love that guy. He's great.
Marcus Lemonis,
Yeah,
great,
yeah,
great guy. He has the one thing I love about him is he takes any business anywhere. He doesn't even need to know a thing about the business, and yet he turns it around and makes it successful.
yeah,
And he
yeah,
does it the same way every single time. He has
yeah.
a structure. We say structure creates confidence here.
That's right.
He has a process, and it comes down to three things for every business: people, product, and
Yeah,
process. He
yeah,
says it over and over. Look, if you're a single truck owner operator and you don't have the right people, we got a problem. That one should be pretty easy. Your product. What is your product? It's moving freight from point A to point B effectively, safely, and profitably for
Yeah.
you, real value for the shipper or the broker you're moving that freight for.
Right. And that usually
That,
means
that,
on time. Right. Yeah, for
so
sure.
now, in order to do that, you need a process. That process is all the tools at truckstop.com.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
how you'll build that
Yep.
process. And one of the things we talk about, if I wanted to find some brokers to build a relationship with, which is what you should be doing, where might I find those brokers?
Well, you can find between 8 and 10,000 of them on Truckstop at any given day.
I think
They're
that's
all
enough.
right there for you. You don't even have to go find them. They're right there for you to find
Yeah.
them. Absolutely. Hey, by the way, I want to make sure I do remind everybody on the call. We're going to take questions here after this next and last slide. So please put your questions in there. So Kevin, I want to go back to the mindset, and I want to go to the next slide because this is so big. I've just heard you talk about this for 20, now almost 30 straight years. That the most important thing when you talked about mindset is going from operator to owner
Here's
because of what it does. Please talk about this, and then let's get to some phone calls.
and let me explain why it is a big challenge for us. It's
Yeah.
not because we're dumb, it's not because we're ignorant.
No.
It is a weird industry, and everybody listening, if you've been in the industry for a couple days, you could probably see this pattern. In the 30 plus years coming up on 40, I've been in this industry. I could quit a job on Friday
Right.
and have another job on Monday.
Right.
If you couldn't, you were doing something wrong. It I can also, and we see it happen, I can roll into the yard as a company driver and roll out the next time as a lease operator, couldn't I?
Oh, for sure you can. Yeah.
It's that easy.
Yeah.
It is so easy to get into business in this industry that is a problem. Because it's so easy, people don't put in the time. They don't build the system. They don't change their mindset. And
Right.
here's what happens. On Friday, when you're an employee driver, you woke up in a sleeper in a truck stop somewhere. You got breakfast, you got fuel, you delivered or picked up some freight, you drove down the highway. That's your day. Now, let's say that over the weekend you go and buy a truck and you become a business owner. Now, what does
Right.
Monday look like? You
Hmm.
wake up in a sleeper in a truck stop somewhere, you find some food, you deal with traffic, you get to the shipper or the receiver, you deliver or pick up freight. It's the exact same day, but nothing could be farther from the truth. Those 2 days are more different than anybody can imagine.
Right.
But because they feel the same, we just keep doing the same stuff. That is the single biggest mistake people are gonna make, not being intentional about starting and building a business.
Well, I love your point about this, that ownership is intentional. You know who picks up trash in the lobby? You know who picks up trash in a parking lot or wherever it is, the owner does. You'd be surprised that they do everything. They wear all the hats because ownership is different. I love the old saying that nobody ever washes a rental car because it's not your car. No one cares. You don't care,
Yeah.
but owners are different. I love your 2 points here, and let's talk about these 2 points, and then let's transition to some questions in just a second that have come in. Strategy compounds over time. That's such a great statement, KR. Tell me a little bit about that one, and then how control replaces chaos.
So the example we gave, you've been using the load board all wrong all this time. You just didn't realize it. You go in, you say, look, I'm in Cleveland. I just want to go someplace that pays good. You pull up a bunch of outbound freight, you pick the highest
Right,
paying load, and you move on. Lousy strategy. We need a new strategy. We're telling you how to find that new strategy. It's the
right.
tools at Truck Stop. There's help there. The first time you do it, is that strategy going to be life changing?
Oh, yeah.
Probably
Well,
not. It,
anything that interrupts the normal is a change.
it,
It takes a while to adjust.
it's that first step. What's the
Right.
Chinese proverb? A step of 1,000 miles, or a journey of 1,000
A
miles
thousand miles
begins with
begins
a
with the first
single
step.
step. Did the first step really feel like it got you closer to that 1,000-mile mark? Not at all.
No,
Doesn't
and it's
even move
probably
the
slow
needle.
too.
Yeah, doesn't
It's
move the needle, but you can't take the second step without the first.
right,
You can't
right.
take the 100th step without the first. Strategy always compounds over time. When you are consistently applying your strategy and tweaking and adjusting, it will get better and better the longer you do it. A good example here, one of my longtime friends started off as a listener to the show. He almost became part of the family. He did. Um, his wife works for us, still does.
Right.
Single highest profit I have ever seen for a one truck owner operator. One truck, one driver, not a team.
Yeah.
Highest profit I've ever seen. 1 year,
Yeah. I
$283,000.
remember you telling me about this guy. Amazing.
$283,000. He did
Amazing.
not he was using the same strategies, but he was on his 10th year of using those strategies.
Wow.
That's how you get to a number like that.
That's
That does
amazing.
not happen overnight.
Well, that's a plan thing. And so many people that listen to this or listen to your program or tribe members know that I talk about my father-in-law a lot. He was a retired guy now. He's 95 years old, but he was on the first engineering team that put the man on the moon for NASA.
That's a
He's a
big deal.
I married a woman whose dad is a literal rocket scientist. But
That's right.
he gave me something when we first got married. He said, Brent, I think I want you to have this. This was something that we followed all the time at NASA. Now look, if you don't do things right at NASA, people die, right?
Yes.
They don't come back to the earth. Right. So he said two simple lines: plan your work, work your plan.
There you go.
But you got to plan your work. And I just never forget that. That's Henry Lockerbrink, man. So but that's super important in this thing. So the idea we got this theme that we've talked about here, and we'll wrap up with a final statement. We've got there's survival trap, mindset shift. What does strategy look like? Data changes everything. Tools that support strategy, and really the big mindset is understanding and thinking and working like an owner. So before we go to that final phrase in that last slide, let's take a few questions that have come in, and I'm going to invite Ashley Shore to come back in. Ashley, thanks for coming back in, and thanks for being our moderator, our guide, and our host. We appreciate you. And so we've got some questions for us. Shoot away.
Yeah, and before we jump into that, I just want to add something as Kevin and Brent both mentioned shifting from the survival to strategy. It
Right.
isn't an overnight flip. It's a
No.
steady,
No.
deliberate process. And really, it's kind of like a turtle making consistent progress towards its goal. So anyway, we have a few great questions that have come in. So we'll jump right
Great.
into that. The first one here for Kevin and Brent. Joseph Laurie asked, is there a way to study a load board as a company driver? So, in reference to the freight that he typically does, which I'm not sure exactly which type of freight, but I think Brent, you probably could answer this with Truckstop's load board that there's access to all types of freight. But anyway, that was his question: is what is the best way to
Yeah.
study a load board?
Let me answer it from an operational standpoint. Then I want KR to kind of jump in here on the backside of this. So first off, you got to have you got to be an independent owner operator with your with all your licensing and everything from the FMCSA as an independent to get access to load board. You can't just there is no general access to load board. However, if you go to truckstop.com on the front end of the website, on the very top of the website, you can click the button. It shows you all the freight that's right on the website for that day. I would also maybe say this: it's always good, and Kevin talks about this a lot, to learn from somebody who's done it well. So go find a friend of yours that has access to it, that's an independent owner operator that has access to truckstop.com, and log on with them and see what they look at, study what they look at from a load standpoint. And I'll just stop there, and that would be my best advice. We got, obviously there's lots of tutorials and stuff, but really you need to understand the why before you do the what in anything you do.
And just for people, because I have a feeling a lot of people are wondering this because I've heard it for years. Explain why you can't get access without an MC number.
Oh, because it's illegal. You can't. you
That's a good
you
one. Yep.
less well, it's the law, Kevin.
Yeah.
So, well, you need to have the proper licensing. You need to have the proper insurance. You need to have the proper blocking and tackling from all of the whatever segment you're in, the permitting and authority and qualifications to be able to have access to the board. You need to be somebody who can accept and take responsibility for that freight. And if you don't have all that licensing and you don't have all those insurances and coverages, then you are out of bounds with the FMCSA. And then we would get in trouble. You would get in trouble, and no one would be responsible for that freight getting delivered because that's not, you don't have the authority to move it.
This is the whole freight fraud issue. I
Oh,
mean,
for sure it is.
that's the whole reason why it's so locked down and restricted,
Yeah.
because this is what you have to do to try
Yeah.
to stop freight fraud. One of the things.
Yeah.
I'll also say this though. The ability to read the load board and be an expert on the load board is not that critical. I want you to understand the load board, mostly the negotiation tools. That those are the one, because
Most
let's talk
important.
about the strategy that really makes sense. It's not being an expert on the load board and finding the best loads, because they're not there. As much as we love the load board, the best
Right. Most
loads
of it's
are,
directly from the broker, directly from the shipper. Right.
it's relationship freight. It
Right.
doesn't make it to the
That's the
board.
best paying freight always.
Absolutely. So don't spend a ton of time trying to be an expert on searching load boards. Become really good at building those relationships with the broker. Let them bring the freight to you, and you go to the load board once in a while when you need to fill in, or you go to the load board for the tools to negotiate. Even if you have a great relationship with your broker, and one day he offers you this load at a rate, and you look at it and go, hey, wait a minute. That lane typically pays 270 or above. One, he'll understand that you know what you're doing, and two,
Right.
he may not have been doing it on purpose. So use the tools, but you don't have to be a load search expert, because if you build this intentionally and you
Right.
get to your relationship freight with your brokers, my goal for somebody is 90% of the freight that goes on their truck should be relationship freight.
Well, we would agree with them as well at Truckstop because that creates the most profitability. If you remember back when we were talking about the data part of it, I said the most important thing for you to know is the market conditions and then the conditions in that lane. Conditions being something like how much freight is there being negotiated in that lane right now? How many trucks are negotiating with you? If it's low, you can negotiate high. How much freight, how many trucks are negotiating in the city you're going to? So, how much negotiation power do you have there? How much freight's available? How many trucks are negotiating? If you know those two things and you know market conditions, then you're able to negotiate better. And that's the most important tool because you got to, when you're negotiating with anybody, you have to figure out something you can settle on as a basis. All right. And if you've got data off of Truckstop Load Board from a rate, from a market standpoint, you can say, well, the market right now is this. You're below that. I would like for you to be at that or above it. So you got to give them a reason to say yes. And anything that you do in any negotiation, give them a reason to say yes on something they can go back and defend themselves to their business.
Brent, would you say the freight market and volumes and rates is pretty dynamic and volatile?
It is the most you if you're an owner operator in the spot market, it's the most dynamic and volatile. So this is why you look at it every day because it could be 210 on Monday and 275 on Friday. Same piece of
So,
freight.
so let's go back to that mindset of I have a number, 250. I never haul for less than 250.
Right.
So if I log in and loads are 250, I might be willing to just grab them. Hey, that's my number. It met my criteria. Here's why that's such a lousy criteria.
Right.
Just recently, if you were pulling a reefer around, would 250 have been a good rate?
Oh my goodness, no. Just
No.
2 or 3 weeks ago, it was like $3.10 a mile.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. How many people did not know that though?
Well, Kevin, kind of going back to your point about owner operators and small fleet operators not knowing their cost per mile. My guess is there's too many, too many.
Yeah. Yeah. Just they don't understand the market can
Yeah,
flip that fast.
yeah, it
The,
is that
the,
important.
the lane. Are there lanes that are wildly volatile throughout the
And
year?
time of year, and time of
Yeah,
year,
that's what I mean. Throughout the
seasonality
year.
with it.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For absolute. So important to understand the market conditions. Ashley, what's our next question? That's what a great first question to start with. Thank you, Ashley. And thank you.
Yeah,
Was it
there
Joseph? You said Joseph asked that question. So
Hey,
um
hey, Brent,
yeah,
you, you know why Joseph asked such a good question?
tell me.
He's one of our Rhodes Scholar members.
There you go. Well, that's he knows. There you go. Way to go. Way to be a leader, Joseph. All right, Ash, what you got?
Nice. Next question. What are some good beginning goal ideas to set our mindsets to change from a driver to owner?
Ooh. Ooh. All right.
Oh,
Driver
I
to
love
owner
it.
mindset. All right, Kevin. Bring some
Good
wisdom.
question. If I were starting from scratch and I wanted to set that business owner mindset early and set it good, I would start with a strategy I call build a winning team. If we were able to build a company with a bunch of employees, we would sit down and we would say, look, we want somebody to handle our numbers. We need somebody to handle our marketing. We need somebody to work on safety. As a one truck owner, we're not going to go hire a bunch of people. Does that mean that I've got to do all that stuff myself? I could go hire somebody to do this, right? I can find a good shop. I don't have to work on my own truck. I don't have to work on my own accounting. Go build those relationships. That it most of the time people don't do this until they absolutely have to. They find a shop when the trucks broke down. That's a bad time to be looking for a shop. They wait till April 14th to scramble around and try to get their tax return done. They haven't had any accounting all year. Probably the best early exercise to get into that business mindset is go start building those relationships. I don't care if you don't even have a truck yet. So what? Go tell them your plan. I plan on buying a truck. I plan on getting my own
Right.
authority. I'm looking for some brokers that want to build a relationship. I want to prove my value to them. You can go start on those relationships before you even have the truck.
Yep. You sure can. I think that to me, if I'm going from a company driver to an owner in something, I think the first thing I do is Kevin, we already talked about this a little bit, is am I really honest with myself? And I think the most important thing you can do is I don't ever expect someone to major on their minor. So don't try to be great at something you're not great at. If you're not great at
Exactly.
accounting, get an accountant. All right. But I will say, find out the things that you're great at and be great at those things. And so because you can be world class at that, you're never going to be world class at accounting if you hate it. So I just say,
Absolutely.
let's say, look at, but be honest with yourself about where your weaknesses are, and then write them down. You know, watch this, watch that, watch this, because if you remind yourself on a daily basis on things that could basically create failure in your business, you'd be surprised how you won't do them.
I
So
do have
write them down.
another. I
Yeah,
do have another one.
yeah.
Um, while you are still a company driver, grab our accounting software, Profit
Oh yeah, for
Gadget.
sure.
You can get it for free for the first 30 days. It'll cost you $19 a month after that. Start tracking your company truck with all the numbers you have
Yeah,
access to.
yeah,
You know the miles, you know the rate, the loads. We could figure out what those loads pay.
yep.
We can track the fuel. You're the one buying it. We have a pretty good idea of what maintenance is going to cost. You're the one that usually takes it to the shop.
Right.
I've watched so many people get a huge head start by that one simple thing.
That is fantastic. All right, Ashley, let's take the last question here. I think we got 6 minutes. We may get two in there. We'll see.
Yeah. So this one is also around goals. What would
Okay.
be a reasonable revenue goal for someone starting out? Follow-up question to that, a target to aim for.
All right. Revenue goal
Great.
and a target to aim for. KR, you're the guru on this.
All right.
Talk to
So
him about this.
help me out a little here, Brett. What is the overall per mile rate today? All segments.
Uh,
Just give me a good number.
it's like we'll just use 250 as the
250.
yeah.
Okay. And I don't like to plan. Actually, when I do the planning, I like to plan on 100,000 miles a year. Two
Yep. I think
reasons.
that's I think that's fair.
One, it's easy math. And two, I don't want to work all that hard. I would much rather work smart. I'd much rather be really profitable on 100,000 miles than
Yeah.
have to run 140 to break even. And I know
Right.
people like that. Now, I will say this, that revenue record, the 280 some thousand, that was on 180,000 miles.
Right.
That's a big year.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
that's one driver. That's a big
Right.
year. That's working hard, but it's doable if you want to work that hard. What I'd rather do is budget and project on 100,000 miles.
Right.
Probably going
Right.
to do more than that. It's a
Right.
good place to start, and it's easy math. So we're going to gross 250
250.
if we can keep our deadhead miles down and just get the average rate. We're not even talking about being better than average here. We're just talking about being average. Here's another goal. If I can gross 250 and I'm running my operation correctly, good fuel mileage, keep my
Yeah.
maintenance costs down, do all those right things, I should be able to take home half of
I was gonna say, where's your so you
that. Half.
say $1.25 base cost. This doesn't include paying yourself, of course, but it's all your truck, tires, maintenance, insurance, the whole nine yards, fuel, everything for $1.25 a mile. I remember one person that called in to the Let's Truck program that said he was at 85 cents a mile. So
Yeah.
all of that's accomplishable. Now let me ask you a question, Kevin. How much does fuel efficiency play into that $1.25? How important is that?
There's nothing more important.
I
It's our
wanted to
biggest
bring that up.
it,
I wanted to bring
for
that
two
up.
reasons. It's our biggest cost. You always
Yep.
start every
Yep.
business, you focus on your biggest cost. It also happens to be the one that we have the most control over. I
Yeah.
don't know of anything
Yep.
else in my business that I have as much control over as I do fuel mileage.
Well, I just when I know that when I know I when it hits me that I know truckers that get between 9 and 11 miles a gallon, and everybody's not trying for that. I just don't get it
The
because
average
that's
in the
just
industry is still 6.7.
I that's the fuel surcharge basis, right? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So it's man, it's like throwing money out the window. And I get it. I want to be cool too. Hey, trucks are super fun and they're awesome, but this is the bottom line for you and the lifestyle of your family and the happiness of your family. Maximize every profit you can. A dollar
If
25 gets you 125,000 gross profit you're bringing home.
if you want to become an expert on something in this
Yeah.
business, number one would be relationships. Number two would be fuel mileage.
Yep. There you go. Relationships and fuel.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got 2 minutes. Actually, we got time for one more question.
All right. Let's see. Next question. My revenue looks decent on paper, but I still feel broke at the end of the month. What's the first place I should look to find the issue?
Oh my gosh, what a
Um,
great question. All right,
it
Kevin,
it
you take
is.
that one, then let's close it out.
Yeah. So the first thing we have to do is stop using wishy-washy language. I have no idea what decent means.
Right.
My revenue looks decent on paper. I don't even know where to go with that. I need a number. Here's what we could do. If your revenue on paper is $2.30 a mile, we know the average is 250. There's room for improvement there.
Right.
But I would also say this, that if we're going to improve our business, I would put more focus on expenses in the beginning rather than revenue.
Yeah. And Kevin, you and I have talked many times about that, and you always say you need to focus on the things that you can control.
Yes.
And you
So,
control every bit
uh,
of the operation.
and let's talk about revenue. This is not scientific. This is just my made up number, but I think it's pretty accurate. 90% of the revenue, the rate, you have no control over.
Right.
It's the
Zero.
market and supply and demand. 10%. So if we think about that, if the market is currently at 250, I might be able to control about 25 cents of that rate, up or down.
Right. Right.
If I
And that's a
build good
lot of profit. That's
relationships,
still a lot of profit. Yeah.
that's a lot. It's
Yeah.
absolutely a lot. Yeah. It's the difference between succeeding and failing sometimes.
Right.
And again, that's just my rough number. So if you're going to focus on that, we could increase revenue by 25 cents a mile. Does that mean we add 25 cents to our bottom line?
No. Oh, yeah.
No,
Well,
because
no,
we have
not necessarily.
expenses, right? Here's the thing. If I raise revenue a dollar, and I'm a really efficient operator, if I raise revenue by a dollar, it puts 50 cents to the bottom line.
Right.
Remember, we're only keeping
Right.
half if we're doing
Right.
really good.
Right.
But if I save a dollar on fuel, the entire dollar goes to the bottom line.
Sure it
That's
does.
in my pocket.
Yeah, for sure it
That's
does.
another reason why we tend to
Right.
focus on
Right.
expenses before revenue.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
if you're saying my revenue is decent, that's just kind of a really weak word. Let's identify exactly what your revenue is. Is it reasonable? If we look at this person and their revenue, all miles was $2.70 a mile, I'd say let's not even think about revenue right now. Let's go figure out why you feel broke because it's not the revenue. Now, here's something else. I know we're running late, but I got
We're
to
right
throw
at
this out
time.
there.
So let's wrap. Last statement. You got it.
We got to throw this out there. I have seen this. A business run really well. Revenue is excellent. Fuel mileage is excellent. They're doing their own maintenance on their truck and saving a bunch of money. And they're broke. You know why? They have a new $100,000 pickup truck. They have a new bass boat. They have three four-wheelers. They take two
Yep.
vacations every year.
Yep.
Uh, they just outspend their own business. And you
Right.
just can't do that.
Right. Well, what great advice, Kevin. Thank you for that closing statement. So from survival to strategy. And so I love this final statement. I'm gonna read it, and then Ashley, I want you to close us out. And this is from Kevin. The moment you stop reacting to the road and start planning it, trucking stops being survival and starts becoming a business because you need to think like an owner. So, Ashley, take us home, close us out, and take us home.
Yeah, Kevin and Brent, thanks for setting the tone for this year's series and great
Super excited.
questions
Yeah.
today. So, big thank you to everyone that joined. Please stay safe out there, stay profitable, and we'll talk to you guys soon.